kick him straight up. Then Candiac.
Pick your goal and stick fucking to it. You wishy-washy motherfuckers. I can't fucking stand you.
I wanted to make sure that out of the 24 hours of the day, that I don't waste one single hour. Those hours were too precious. And so there I just want to tell people, don't give me this thing, I have a difficult time with the time and I don't have time for this and I don't have that. You have time. You make the time.
And now, welcome to the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast, sponsored by FitnessInformant.com.
All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome inside the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast. I am your host, FitnessInformant.com founder, CEO, Ryan Buckeye. Thank you all for stopping by, checking out today's episode featuring Robert Oliver, the CEO of the Genius brand. Stoked for Robert to be on the show. You guys are going to learn a few things about his philosophy behind sports nutrition supplements and creating the Supplement Smarter, aka the Genius brand. Some of you people have been listening to this podcast for a while, and I have not mentioned it nearly enough, but the entry to this podcast has a rap song. It's very catchy. Did you know that the person who wrote that actually is the CEO of Entel Nutra, the creator of Aries, our number one rated pre-workout? That's right. The dude's a rapper. You can look him up online. It's PH4DE Fade. He's actually in a music video in a song with Lil Wayne. No shit. He's with Lil Wayne. He makes great supplements. He's a rapper. He's out there hustling, doing all the things that you want to do as an entrepreneur, but more so as a badass, dope-ass dude named Landon Suggs. So, guys, gals, welcome inside the podcast. First time listening, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, whatever it might be, there's an opportunity that they give you to review the podcast. If you like what you hear today, go ahead and review us. Give us a review. Give us a star rating. It helps get up in the algorithm so we can get more people to listen to this podcast. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that way you just get all new podcasts sent directly to your phone, iPad, streaming device, however you're listening. Man, 2019, a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of great stuff going on over at FitnessInformant.com. We have more tools coming out for people. As you know, we've had the macro calculator going now for a couple months. It's been an extremely popular addition to the website. People can come. It uses the revised Harris-Benedict formula. This is a scientific formula to calculate your macros based on your age, your sex, your daily expenditure, and what your ultimate goal is. If you want to bulk, you want to cut, we got that for you. Here's my recommendation. Based on the amount of caloric intake that you get sent to your email inbox, work up to that or work down to that, depending on where you're at. If you are at, say, let's just use 2,000 calories a day, and the macro calculator says you need to be 1,500 calories for cutting, don't jump to 1,500 calories overnight. Take your time and get there. And vice versa. If you have to get to 2,500 calories, take your time to get there as well. Because if you do the jump too quick, you can gain too much body fat if you're bulking, and you could just really fuck up your metabolism if you go too quick to the lower side. Pumped up this week, people. I am pumped up. This week's Pumped Up segment is brought to you by Built Fast Formula's award-winning VasoBlitz Pump Igniter. Not only is VasoBlitz the winner of our 2018 Shield of Excellence Supplement Award for Best Pump Product of the Year, it is also the first nitrate formula fully disclosed with 30 servings, not scoops. When VasoBlitz is consumed daily, even on your off days, it will last you a full month. All this for only $34.99, and a special offer to our listening audience. You can get this for 15% off by using the coupon code INFORMANT. I'm pumped up about this actual supplement, about Built Fast Formulas VasoBlitz. A lot of people in our Self-Made Barbell Brigade Facebook group, this is it's a public group. So if you're not part of it, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/fitnessinformant. It's under groups. Join the groups. It's a discussion place for people to get together and really discuss sports nutrition, supplements, exercises, diets, whatever it might be. It's awesome stuff. Really good engagement with the audience. But so many people signed up for our free sample giveaway with VasoBlitz. We did over 200 of these things. It went quick, like overnight. We essentially overloaded Build Fast Formula's warehouse, and we had to pause it. So it will be put back on active status at some point, because a lot of people missed out on this really awesome opportunity to get this great supplement, this great pump powder. This this economical pump powder, and I say that because 30 servings at $35 is a steal in the pump category today, especially with nitrates. And it's got 2 grams of full nitrates in this thing. It also has citrulline malate, and it has, I believe, calcium lactate as well, which is a really good pump formula, and it does the job. So a lot of people right now are probably taking that 5-day challenge, courtesy of us here at FI and those over at Build Fast Formula. So that's really what I'm pumped up about. I get pumped up about people posting in the Self-Made Barbell Brigade group about how their pump's going, how their workout's going with the addition of Build Fast Formula's Vaso Blitz. Really cool thing about Build Fast Formulas right now is, like, right now they're one SKU, one product, the Vaso Blitz, a pump product, but rumor has it they are going to be releasing more products under the Build Fast Formula umbrella. And if Vaso Blitz has any sort of indication on what the future holds for different supplements from this company, it's going to be pretty epic coming from this company, and that'll be a good to see. Today is a great episode. I'm excited about Robert Oliver because I think a lot of our listening audience might not know who he is. And honestly, I don't blame you for not knowing who he is. He is the man behind the scenes of the Genius brand, a brand that really utilized and leveraged the Amazon platform to be huge, to be big. They're one of, I believe, Amazon's biggest supplement brands that's not Amazon owned, that actually has quality supplements. We've actually written reviews of Genius Test, Genius Mushroom, etc. over at the website, fitnessinformer.com. We've broken down their new Genius Muscle Builder. So there's a lot of really good things with this brand, and they capitalized on Amazon before anybody else did. So we talk about that today. Me and Robert talk about the capitalization of the Amazon model before anybody else did, because that's where Robert's expertise laid. He actually worked in a field with supplement companies and other companies within the Amazon platform. So he knew exactly how Amazon worked. He was able to not expose it, but to use it to his advantage and create this brand called the Genius brand, which is now going to branch out to direct to consumer through their website platform and probably eventually select retailers. So it's not just going to be Amazon. A lot of people are clamoring for these products, these ingredients that Robert's using, and rightfully so. And that's our Genius Moment of the Week. Our Genius Moment of the Week is being brought to you by the Genius brand. The Genius brand offers high-quality supplements with scientifically proven, clinically dosed, all natural ingredients. With a blatant disregard for profit margins, the Genius brand focuses on creating innovative, industry-leading wellness supplements to help you live an active, healthy, and long-lasting life. Supplement smarter today. Check out full review and ingredient breakdowns over at fitnessinformant.com. So our Genius Moment of the Week is Robert Oliver this week. It's not necessarily like cut energy drinks out of your diet, because I have one in front of me right now that you don't see. It's Cellucor C4. But really, Robert breaks down his love and passion for mushrooms and how mushrooms are in a lot of his products. This is like cordyceps, reishi, lion's mane, those type of mushrooms that you see. Now, yes, lion's mane is not really coming from the mane of a lion, in case you were thinking that. So I'm excited to have him on, because this really is the Genius Moment of the Week. To have him on and have him elaborate on the Genius brand, what they're accomplishing and what they're doing over at the Genius brand within the bodybuilding fitness community. Now, that might not be his niche. You know, he might not be going after people like me, somebody who's in the gym 6 days a week, tossing around a bunch of fucking iron. But we're starting to take notice. We're starting to know the Genius brand. We're starting to appreciate the Genius brand. These brands coming out with digestive health supplements like the Genius brand actually is. Brands coming out with mushroom supplements that really focus on elevating mood and limiting and lowering anxiety and depression, making us live better lives, because Jesus, man, there is not a more insecure space in sports than the bodybuilding and fitness community. If we can have supplements that make us more secure and not so goddamn anxious all the time, we'd be better off, because all you need to do is scroll through Instagram for 5 minutes one day and see bikini chicks and heavyweight bodybuilders complain and bitch and moan about their carb depletion and their diet and their figure and what they look like. And, oh my God, it's 2 weeks post-show and I've gained 10 pounds. People, that's fucking normal. Don't lose your shit over it. And if you do, check out the Genius brand. They're making products to help calm your ass down. Man, we are worked up as a society. I'm worked up today. I'm always worked up because I'm excited about FI. I'm excited about the future of this platform. Look, I mean, man, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see me decked out. The brand new FI hat, FI lightweight hoodie. These are not currently available for purchase, but we do have the brand new FI logo t-shirt over at fitnessinformant.com/store. Available for purchase. Thing is dope as shit. Next level t-shirt, good quality material, looks good on you, especially if you work out. If you want to help support the brand, really that's the best way to do it, is purchase supplements through our links, purchase our apparel, let people know about FI and what we're trying to accomplish. Some really cool stuff going on at fitnessinformant.com. This podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, you guys know that. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube to stay up to date with all things. The Arnold is about 6 weeks away. A lot of cool stuff going on. If you follow us over at fitnessinformant.com, you see a lot of noise and a lot of news coming out from FI as we lead into the Arnold. Some of that news is, we have Redcon 1's brand new cereal protein bar that's going to be released at the end of the month, January 31st. Also, what was supposed to be released on February 1st were 3 new flavors from NutraBio. And those are actually going to be released early because it leaked. And those flavors are pretty cool. Maple pancake, or it's pancake and maple syrup. It is cinnamon sugar donut and blueberry muffin are 3 new flavors of 97% whey protein isolate, 3% flavoring. These things are awesome. I got to try them. They're great. They really, really are great. Another product releasing at the end of the month is Performax Labs Hypermax Extreme. You might have been following us on social media. This thing is legit. My feedback on regular Hypermax was it was missing a pump component. Something in the pump compartment was missing. And they added Vaso 6 and it changed the game. This is a hell of a product. You'll see a video from us here at FI. You'll see some stuff over at fitnessinformant.com. Back to NutraBio. I mean, they released a KSM 66 ashwagandha supplement. They released a standalone Alpha GPC. I mean, NutraBio won our 2017 Brand of the Year award because they worked their ass off. That was the first time in their history that they had a booth at the Olympia because they felt like they needed to. And they spent 2018 really reformulating their flavoring system because that was our biggest feedback for this company is like their flavoring was off. That the game has changed, people. They changed it. Dragon fruit candy, intra, BCAAs, all that. Dragon fruit candy is on point. It's clutch. This brand new protein powder flavoring is fucking phenomenal. Just a lot of cool stuff coming out. Inspired Nutraceuticals coming out with a collagen-infused whey protein powder with probiotics. I mean, just a lot of cool stuff happening in this space, and it's good. A lot of cool, good stuff happening in this space. And we're happy to be able to bring it to you. It pumps me up. These are genius moments of the week. Being able to incorporate all these in. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel, fitnessinformant.com. You can get there. You go to youtube.com/fitnessinformanttv. Brand new reviews posted. A lot of cool stuff going on over there, too, including this podcast. So I'm going to wrap up my opening segment here, get you guys over to the Genius Brand CEO, Robert Oliver, shed some light on the Genius Brand, get you some indication on why this thing has grown the way it has in 2.5 years and where it's going and what the future of this brand is going to be. All I can tell you this is the Genius Brand is going to... they're going to accelerate in 2019, and they have a ton of product launches coming out, and we are excited to bring you Robert Oliver, CEO of the Genius Brand.
Hey, Speed Racer.
Hey, buddy.
It's just pre-workout.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Do me a favor, pull over.
The only fully dosed, ready-to-drink pre-workout available now at redcon1.com.
I've spent most of my life chasing what's termed as unattainable. An obstacle in my path, I torment it. Any limitation trying to control my environment, I tame it. Any excuses, I transform into commitments. The haters, they're too small for me to even see. For 28 months before Cage Muscle even released, I broke myself against the world to identify, track, test, and trial the ultimate resources available in human existence to bring you something the world has never seen. Change is upon us. Don't justify your complacency. Evolve with me. Part animal, part machine. I'm Chris Gethin, and I am Cage Muscle.
For the last 2 decades, we have been the best kept secret of the supplement industry. We've kept our heads down and worked. We pioneered full label transparency and full therapeutic doses because we believe that truly hard work requires truly effective tools. 2 decades is a long time to commit to one pursuit, but when you act with purpose and become centered in yourself, eventually you realize that you were born and bred for this. The things you once thought impossible, you now do every day. We don't like the easy way, it just doesn't feel right. We'll take the long, hard road over a shortcut any day. It takes longer, sure, but in the end, you know you earned it. And with the right team behind you, pushing yourself further than you've ever been would be just another afternoon doing what you love most.
All right, guys, welcome back inside the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you see the gentleman on the split screen next to me. You might not recognize him because he's not a guy who puts himself out on social media all the time like some of these major supplement CEOs, but he's a goddamn genius. And that's why it's called the Genius Brand. It's the CEO, Robert Oliver. Robert, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to jump on.
Dude, I'm excited about this because this is sort of a podcast that a lot of maybe bodybuilders and super fitness fanatic people listen to, and you have a brand in which you create and innovate products that are attractive to our niche, but some people might not necessarily know all about the Genius Brand. So to get you on and talk about your background and your products and why the Genius Brand, in Fitness Informant's opinion, is one of the best brands actually in the sports nutrition space. I'm stoked about this. This is good stuff. So take me back to the history. What's your history in nutrition, athletics, weightlifting? Because you have to have some sort of passion for one of these things to get into this space.
Yeah, absolutely. So without going just super long story here and burning up all our time, I've always just been a general gym guy, right? And athlete kind of growing up. I played college basketball at Western Washington. So that's kind of my background. I actually started formulating kind of in college a little bit, and that's where I was very, very into supplements. I was the kid in high school to, first one to take creatine, all that good stuff. When you
mean back in high school and people thought creatine was steroids? That's when you took it? Yeah, exactly.
So you're getting attacked for that a little bit, but
right.
I always had a real interest in that stuff, and I felt like supplements really helped me progress as an athlete, really through my, college years and all that stuff. So that's kind of just general interest.
Let me stop you real quick though, because when you were taking supplements, I'm assuming the popular brands at that point were like Weider Sports, probably BSN, maybe some store brands, but were there big brands that you sort of took while you were pertaining towards?
I remember in college, Muscle Farm was really big because they were one of the first ones to really get all that, banned substance free stamps and all that stuff. Muscle Farm,
and they had the lime green, which stood out of everybody's cupboard. It was awesome branding on their part.
That was like their peak years. That's when they were everywhere. They're paying Tiger Woods several $1 million to put his logo on their bag, all that good stuff. But actually at that point too, that's when I started kind of creating my own products. Like I remember taking, it was so gross, but mixing like cordyceps with beta alanine and some other crap and drinking that.
Explain what cordyceps is, because most people aren't going to even know what that is.
Yes. So, I think this is an area where this year, I think more people are going to catch on to just mushrooms in general. I'm a pretty big advocate of them, but cordyceps is basically a type of mushroom. Helps with oxygen uptake, kind of natural energy, endurance. There's other claims that go along with it. I won't get too out there. They're relatively, there's not a tremendous amount of research on them, in that regard. But, I've been a big fan of mushrooms dating back, 10, 15 years now probably. And cordyceps was one where, for athletes that want prolonged endurance, they're fantastic.
Yeah, and we're going to get back into that when we actually talk about your product, the Genius Mushrooms, which is awesome. But just, a spoiler, like mushrooms are big in the EU right now in the UK. They really haven't trickled over to the States yet, but to your point, I think 19, 20 are going to be big years in which this happens. So, all right, back to you're taking mushrooms, you're making these shakes that taste like complete asshole, but you're performing well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm finding I'm able to build muscle faster, get stronger. Like I was a pretty good athlete through college, and I wasn't previously in my life. Like I don't think I'm super genetically blessed on that front. But I was able to
Which spot on the floor did you play?
I was a point guard.
Yeah, you were. I thought so. I figured as much. You're scrappy, a little quick guy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, no, that was kind of my, my calling.
And you said you went to Washington, so because we're talking about basketball, I've got to ask, like, with with Seattle losing their NBA team, does that hit you hard?
Oh, it still does, man, for sure. Like,
so who do you root for now?
NBA. I mean, I think it's all kind of. I follow players, like I like players, but I'm more. NBA is interesting. Like they don't play hard for 82 games, and then playoffs comes, and it's a whole different animal, No. So
you get a couple teams that are scrappy. I will give credit to the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm not a Bucks fan, but they seem like a team that plays hard a lot. Yeah. And again, this isn't an ESPN podcast, but this is the type of stuff you're going to get on my show. Is like Robert's not going to go on most podcasts and talk about his love for NBA, but I think it's interesting because it really shapes who you are as a person, your passions, and what you find in life that's valuable. So it's good to talk about this. And so now the Sonics, they're out of Seattle. Okay, we're all subject, obviously, but so you've always had a passion for fitness, for staying in shape. But then at some point, college ends. You don't go to the NBA, but your passion and your enthusiasm for this space continued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I graduated college a little bit early. I went to work with my dad's company, and he's in consumer electronics. So he's a regional distributor, Sony, Sonos, a lot of those brands. But he also has kind of a rep model where his employees manage brands' relationships to Amazon on the consumer electronics front. So I kind of levied those relationships, and I was like, hey, how do you feel about this Amazon thing can go to any category? How do you feel about trying a fitness division, right, or something in that. And
what year was this, Robert?
This was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is before they were signed on as a major sponsor at things like the Olympia. Before they were streaming the actual Olympia, like this is before this was probably even a thought in the executive, or they probably may have thought about it, but haven't considered it like significantly until maybe some of these conversations.
Right. And the thing is, no one in the industry saw it either. So this was I think this was about 2 years before the Olympia thing happened. Because when the Olympia thing happened, that's when everyone's going, oh, shit, these guys are for real. Yeah. Well, I'd seen it 2 years prior. I didn't get any like major clients the first year or anything, but I had a couple brands. I had this one actually, Hit Supplements, and they were out of Boise. They did really well on bodybuilding.com because of their relationship there. And they're not currently in business anymore. But at the time, they were a top 50 brand on BBCom. And I started doing their Amazon business, and I think they were doing about $100,000 on bodybuilding a month, and all of a sudden they're inching up towards that on Amazon without really any focus. And so we're going, oh shit, there's a market here, you know, and there's a real player. And I fast forward a year, I started getting some stronger clients and some big brands, and we're going neck and neck, bodybuilding.com and Amazon, kind of staying there, focusing all their effort on bodybuilding, and then Amazon still, it's like there's serious traffic here, there's serious sales to be had. So yeah, I mean, I kind of got on that early and saw it coming.
So then what point did you decide, hey, this is, I'm helping these companies be successful on Amazon. I should start my own.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it, to be honest, just came from, I mean, there's a number of things here that happened. One, I mean, it was just products I wanted to create, and I saw the opportunity to do that. Earlier it was like, man, brands aren't capitalizing on this. Like I'm trying to show the recipe, show the formula, and it's just not taking shape, like they're not executing, they're not putting their resources there.
Why do you think that is? Because like I'm looking back, I used to do when I was in high school. I mean, this was 2003, 2004. I'm buying things on eBay left and right. And like that was a big thing. And they had eBay stores, and supplement companies weren't doing the eBay model. Amazon's been around for a while. I mean, for me, I find it fascinating that some of these large companies, these multi-million and these companies that make a ton of money just didn't say, hey, this is an avenue for us to also distribute our product into the marketplace.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from like us as humans. I don't think we like change. You get into a good groove or anything, but change is inevitable. I mean, it really is. And even for me, like I don't I don't like change. But I have to look and forecast the next 10 years. You know,
Right.
if that's how you're going to survive. And I think a lot of these brands, legacy brands, whatever it might be, there was a set model for making it happen, and they're doing big numbers that way. And you just refuse, you know, you turn a blind eye to it. And especially when you get some of these guys that are, you know, older, they've been in the industry for a while. They don't want to change. They don't want to adapt. And I don't think anybody saw this coming as fast as it happened, you know? Some obviously did. I mean, you look, not to jump on any other brands or speak to it, but, you know, I know you're good friends with Aaron at Redcon, and I think that's a guy who you see his history through the industry, and then the way he's adapted with Redcon has just been unbelievable. And that speaks to where they're at, you know?
Yeah, we talked about the Amazon model too, and you know, they don't do a ton of business via Amazon, but he said you have to be there. I mean, as a brand, you should be there, and you should at least service that business.
No, definitely. Well, and even the way he's navigated it, to the sense that, he hasn't made Amazon a focus, but there's an awareness where he knows he needs to protect his pricing and he needs to service you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the only way you can police your pricing is to actually be a distributor on Amazon yourself, which is, I mean, most of these brands, if you're listening to this, there are people who can buy your brands through Europa or distributor. They can turn around and sell on Amazon if they want, if you're not there. And the map pricing, which is your minimum advertised pricing system, goes out the door. You can't police that if you're not there. So, I mean, if you don't know that, now you do.
So in my first several years of working with brands, that's all I did, was like trying to explain to them, oh, Amazon's the bad guy. I go, Amazon's not the bad guy. They're just going to reflect your pricing out in the market. Like, that's, if you're doing a crazy deal to Europa, guess what? You're going to see it on Amazon. Like, that's the reality of it. Right. But even you got Ghost there, right? Like, they're not even on Amazon, but I'd say they're extremely aware of the Amazon model. You know
very
what I mean?
much.
Yeah. So yeah, it's changed the whole game.
Yeah, and like with Ghost, not to again talk about other brands, like they're I'm going to use the word exclusive loosely here with GNC, so it's not like GNC is going to turn around and sell the brands on Amazon. If you go into a GNC or you buy it directly on their website, you're not going to be able to mark the product up enough through Amazon to make a margin, so it doesn't make sense. But in your case, like you basically made Amazon your bitch. Like this was you were a brand that took Amazon and you saw the opportunity and you built a brand. And a massive brand at that. I mean, you are one of the more, from experience of searching brands from Google and everything else, like the Genius brand is one of the more popular supplement brands that live on Amazon today. And you've only been in business less than 3 years, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
How'd you do? I mean, you knew the model, you worked with it, so that obviously is to your advantage. But did you ever expect it to grow as quickly as it did?
You know, yeah, I mean, I'd say, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of up and downs for sure, but, you know, kind of reflecting on the end of this year here, it's really cool to see where we're at, and that's kind of where we set out to be, and at times you don't know if you believe that, but I'd say more or less, yes. I promise you I'd never say we made Amazon our bitch. Like, man, we are dependent on them for life.
For sure. What I meant by that was like, I mean, you rolled the Amazon business model to your advantage. Like you saw a white space and you used it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we're at an interesting spot now because we built it for Amazon, you know, like specifically tailor-made to their model. And now we're trying to diversify beyond that. And it's finding the right rhythm between, you know, something like direct to consumer, something like Vitamin Shop, and then still maintaining that Amazon business and growth trajectory. So it's a new stage for us for sure.
You said two things there that I want to talk about. First off, like, let's talk about Amazon, because Amazon now is private labeling sports supplements. They actually are responsible for, I believe like 75% of the online consumption of supplements in terms of purchase. That exceeds bodybuilding, that exceeds Tiger, direct to consumer, etc. You have a very successful business, and they have all this velocity data. They see what you do. They know what the Genius brand does. They have every opportunity in the world to take your top SKU, private label it, and compete against you. What's the thought process behind that? Because they're doing it more and more. And it's inevitable that they're probably going to do it. So, I mean, is that part of the reason that you're looking to diversify? Does it bother you, worry you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it doesn't bother me, right? Like, you kind of had to see every massive retailer's done this. You know, Costco with Kirkland, like, it's good business on their front. Right? Like, I saw it coming. But that is part of the reason hey, we have to own our consumer now. We have to own our brand. You know, we're fortunate enough to have used them as a springboard to get to this spot, you know, really from nothing. Now let's make the most of it. Let's think long term. Let's build. But yeah, no, that's the reality. Like they have it's interesting. They don't follow a lot of their own rules. Like they launched a plant protein. It's the exact same as Orgain, because I know Orgain just crushes it on there, and they put in their title, comparable to Orgain. Like, that's so. Hey, it is what it is.
The thing with Amazon that's interesting is if you look at just like your traditional Kroger's, your grocery stores, or like Sprouts out on the West Coast, like they could private label things, but they don't have necessarily the digital platform to win in that area. So you could put out a mailer and you could brand it and you could have literally every Sprouts private label product, but the consumer is not, that doesn't draw the consumer in because they're not familiar with it. You have to put like big brands on there to draw somebody into the store. With Amazon, you type in a search for any ingredient that's in yours. They have the capability of making sure that they're first, or that they have like a sponsored post. So like they have a massive engine to win. And I'm not, to your point, like I don't think you should be scared. It's going to bring more people to Amazon, but it also makes you think outside the Amazon box and how to win. And I'm interested in what you're looking, because we've heard a lot of people ask, like, where can I buy this outside of Amazon, especially through FI lately. I mean, we have a distributor over in Europe that has been using your products, Lucas, that loves it. And like, some of these guys, some of these people are going to start like, they know the brand exists. They know it's good. They want the product. So when do we expect to see the Genius brand live outside the Amazon world?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And kind of first off there, one thing I don't think Amazon can beat you on price. They can beat you on, they just have scale, right? Yep. One thing that these mass retailers will never really have is that genuine kind of emotional connection with a brand. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that in a way of like exploitation, but rather like genuine help, like if the Amazon won't have that. They can offer selection, they can offer price, but there'll always be that brand aspect where someone identifies with it, where like, Ghost lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
like that's huge. It's being part of that community. So that's one thing we're banking on and we're trying to build. And that comes down to more content. That comes down to, just better servicing the customers. Like that's really a focus of ours. That being said, like that core piece ties into our 2019 plan of kind of, just going beyond Amazon. And a lot of that, we're putting a lot of resources into launching a new website. Like that'll launch this month. 1/1 was the goal, and now it's 1/12, and we still haven't launched. So hopefully by the end of the month, that'll be our new kind of home of Genius. It'll be the Genius brand.
Will there be an opportunity for consumers to buy direct, or will the links take them through Amazon? Okay, awesome, very cool.
And right now, so we've opened up our website now to have consumers buy direct.
Okay.
That currently exists, but we're going to have a whole new, like we're really going to offer strong discounts for subscriptions and all that stuff. It's kind of a new game.
So you're gonna take a few elements that work on Amazon, like the subscribe and save model, but you're gonna do it on a DTC where the consumers, like one thing I think that consumers don't always know, but I think it's good for them to know, is like if you truly support a brand and you see a price on Amazon and that price is comparable to the .com for say the Genius brand or supplementsmarter.com. Mm-hmm. Buy it on supplementsmarter.com because you're actually supporting the brand more, because it puts more money in the pockets of the brand to then go ahead and to reinvest in more product innovation, to reinvest in content. So if you're a consumer, it's always best to go through the direct website if you truly want to support that brand. Now, if you have a shopping mall mentality and you want to buy several different brands, I get the Amazon, I get the Subs or the bodybuilding.com, but just a little side piece. So I'm excited that you guys are actually going to be doing more, pushing more direct to consumer, because I think that support, you have a good following of fans and consumers that continually purchase. What do you know, like what your basically in the CPG world, like we call it, like the purchase frequency or repurchase rate is of your consumers? Do you know if is it pretty? It's got to be pretty high.
It is. I'd have to pull it up, but no, it's pretty. We have a lot of repeat buyers. Sure, like that's a staple of ours.
Right, and you mentioned too, like the thing that separates the Genius brand and brands like Ghost from an Amazon private label is the extra content, but the value add that you guys can provide. You take time to actually converse with people on social media. Although you weren't really in the spotlight, you're starting to kind of come out a little bit more. You're doing podcasts, your social media you're more active on, which I think is fantastic. And I think your consumers are going to learn to appreciate that. Like if they have a legit question about a product, instead of going through a customer service, they could, at you on Instagram or at you on Twitter, and you respond. Mm-hmm. Do you enjoy doing that?
I do. I like talking to consumers for sure, and I like help. I just like helping people get kind of where they want to go, And a lot of the time, I'm pretty clear with answers. Like, hey, this is what the science says, or that's what the data says. Like, I'm never really I don't like selling people. Like it's kind of interesting. I've gotten really kind of anti-marketing over the last year or two. Like I feel like it's a strong suit of mine, but I don't like the aspect of like, you know, how many times you got to see, oh, the best this or oh, best that, you know, like it just kind of, it gets a little old. So I'm kind of rethinking that approach. And I just like genuine conversation with customers for sure.
Yeah, you do a little bit of marketing on social media, and I don't think I've ever seen like the best testosterone booster available today, the OTC. That's what I said. I said that the Genius test is like one of the best OTC test boosters. That's a job for me, Price Plow Stack, to talk about. I mean, you don't toot your own horn, but you know you're making good ass products. But what comes with that is a price tag. Like we just got done talking about the Genius Muscle Builder over at Fitness Informer. It's a great in-depth article breaking down each ingredient, and I learned a ton about this product. I also learned why the price tag is what it is. Like you're using super expensive ingredients that clinically dosage, sometimes 2x what the studies say that you need to use. The selection process of ingredients, I feel like it is on purpose. You're not just throwing stuff together. You have a very articulate way of putting together a product based on science. Is that your fascination with science? Do you have a team of people who help you look this stuff up?
No, it's definitely. I mean, it starts with me for sure. One of our main manufacturer, they're a partner with me. The head guy's a doctor of pharmacy.
Sure.
So he's very into that as well, and he'll make sure, you know, he'll refine everything, or he'll find something new, and hey, we got to look at this. But more times than not, we don't look at price when we formulate. Like we start out with an idea, and it's like, okay, we need a natural muscle builder. Let's find the things that work and put them together, and then just worry about price later, right?
Yeah.
And that one actually got kind of absurdly priced because the COGS are just ridiculous.
Well,
So
PA alone is fucking unbelievable. I mean, it's awesome. It is a fantastic ingredient, but it costs you an arm and a leg.
Exactly. So we started with that one with a like ridiculously small run because it's like, okay, we're launching this is really expensive, you know, so let's minimize our risk. We should be able to get the sell price down on that one in the future. Traditionally, we work off like smaller margins than most brands.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it'll be no different there. So we're trying to get that price point down too.
You know, I did the podcast 2 weeks ago about how many brands I see in this space, they fail because they fail to understand who they are as a brand, and they fail to understand their consumer. I feel like the Genius brand, you guys really understand who you are. Your formulations and the way you innovate has been consistent since day one. And I feel like the consumer is more of an educated consumer that approaches your products, because I don't see John Smith, who's just starting to weight lift tomorrow, spending $90 on a muscle builder per se. Now they can be talked into it, right? You could talk about how MLMs do it. But when we posted the article, we had plenty of comments of people saying like, price tag seems high, but after I looked at the ingredients, I understand why. Is your consumer the person that understands the why, or is your consumer somebody different?
I think with Amazon especially, it's somewhere in between. I mean,
Sure.
I think it's a huge portion of those that understand the why, but it's also a lot of lifestyle consumers that just want a specific result. Like they want an intended result. And a lot of the time, you know, they don't get too caught up in the price. Like I do think we have a handful of people that, like money's obviously it always comes into play, you know, but I think, there's a handful of people that like, hey, they'll spend the money for something clean that works, that you know, they're not too concerned about it. You know, I think that's one big thing. Like people want that transparency, they want that trust, they want the brand they can, you know, believe in, but then also get the actual result they want. So
yeah, and I will say this about the Amazon model. I went to Amazon real quick and typed in the Genius brand. I would say majority of your SKUs have over 1,000 reviews each, which obviously helps alleviate any sort of concern for price. But these aren't paid reviews or bought reviews. These are reviews from actual paying customers who believe in your product. Genius Joy, I'm just looking at that now, 14, 15 reviews at 4.5 out of 5 stars. Price tag $60. Now, if I walk into this situation and I have any concern for price, that review, that number of reviews and that score takes it away. And I buy that product based on what these people are saying. Yeah. So, I mean, the Amazon model works great there. Now, somebody coming to your website, a direct-to-consumer website, I feel like this consumer now is not the in-between consumer. This is a consumer, unless you attract them there through paid social, this is a consumer that probably understands the why. And they're coming to support the brand.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm super excited about the future of this brand, and I'm excited to see like where you guys go, because you traditionally haven't targeted people like me, somebody who I'm in the gym 6 days a week. I'm a bodybuilder. I love that kind of stuff. Your branding, and I mean this with all due respect, doesn't speak to me. because it's white and orange. It's beautiful. It is a beautiful branding. But are you looking? I mean, again, it's a product for everybody. People like me could and should use your brand because it's that good. But you're not necessarily designed that way. So are you trying to reach our niche with the content building that you're working on?
Somewhat, I think.
Or the bodybuilding community not really your focus, which is completely fine because you can't target everybody. That's impossible. So if you're not looking to go into the bodybuilding world, awesome, totally fine. But the world that you're in is working well.
No, for sure. And I just think it's a specific. It's not the full bodybuilding community. Like we're not gonna. I just don't think we'd ever get someone who loved MHP all their life or like a brand like that. But there is that specific niche of. When you start getting into the artificial colors or sweeteners I think when you find that group that's still very into training and, you're lifting
the all natural.
Yeah, exactly. But don't want that are conscious of those things. That's where it's like an immediate strike. Like we hit home with them immediately,
Talk to me about the Genius brand, the brand name. Like where'd that come from? Were you just sitting around one day popping mushrooms? And by mushrooms, I mean the athletic performing mushrooms, people. Settle down. But then how'd that come to you? Or has it been something you had in your back pocket for a while?
No, it just kind of like when I met with the manufacturer partner, it was in Olympia one year. We just kind of, this idea of like Supplement Smarter came up, and that's
genius.
The original.
No pun intended. It's genius.
Yeah. And then kind of from there, that's where it was like, oh, genius. And then, that wasn't taken, and it's like, oh, what a great name. Surprisingly, it's not, owned yet. So that's kind of nothing special about the backstory on that one, but yeah.
I need to ask you about the poster on your wall behind you. If you're not watching on YouTube and you're streaming on iTunes or Stitcher or something like that, it says it looks like a supplement facts panel, but it says success nutrition facts. Like I can't see what's below it, but like what it says everything 100% or 110%. Like I love it from what I'm seeing here. Like what does that say? Yeah. And is that something that you live and that drives you?
I try to. I think it's fitting. It's got serving size 24 hours a day.
That's awesome.
Serving per container 365 days a week, and it's just things like hustle, focus, discipline. Kind of the whole what it takes to succeed in life in general. And I like that we put it in a supplement facts panel, and it's very fitting for what we do. So.
And then you have two other posters on your wall of two men who probably couldn't be more completely different. I'm not sure. You have Kennedy up above that, and then you have Kanye. And what's the influence and the inspiration behind those two?
So I'm a huge JFK guy in general. Like I think he's probably one of the greatest presidents of all time, if not the. I think we'd be living in a different world if he didn't get assassinated. So that one speaks for itself, in terms of leadership. I grew up on listening to Kanye West, and that's been an interesting one. I've thought about taking it down a couple times, just in general, because he's completely whacked out right now.
I was going to see if you were going to say anything about that, but sure.
He's regardless of his. I actually see where he's coming from on everything he says, but he's just not in touch with reality. Like he's very. He's been off meds for a year, Right. Okay. But I'm a big fan of creators, like in general, just any creator. And I do, like, I'll give him all the credit in the world for that. Like he's a creator. Steve Jobs is a creator. And I try to identify with any creator ever. And I do think he's done a good job of pushing limits,
We've been talking for 28 minutes, dude, and what you just said was the one thing that I'm probably going to take away from this podcast. And I think that people probably should take away from this too, is the fact that you said that you respect Kanye. It's not because like his music is catchy and you can sing along to it in the club, but the fact that he's a creator. Mm-hmm. And I think that is really embedded in every product and SKU that you guys have come out with. Sure, you have a couple that might be more commodity based, and I say that because a vegan protein is great and yours is actually a little bit different, but you look at some of the things like, let's talk about Genius Mushroom. We said we're going to talk about it early on in the podcast. I want to talk about it. I'm actually in the process of doing a write-up on this right now as well. And it's something that I have never been exposed to. This whole mushroom movement, you could call it here in the States, but the power behind what these are and what people are using them for is actually pretty remarkable. The studies show like they're great, but not a lot of people are coming out with it yet. If you go to like a natural organic store, even like a Sprouts or like a Co-op, they have products that are mushroom based, and you see them popping up everywhere. You're way ahead of the curve with your product. Where was that? Was that one of your first products that you formulated because of what you talked about in college? You were using cordyceps with some of the other shakes that you were making.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of that had just been I'd been taking mushrooms for several years prior to that. Like lion's mane, especially, is one where just on the cognitive front, I feel like it's one of the best kind of natural nootropics.
Sure.
And it's just kind of like, hey, let's introduce people to mushrooms the best way we know how. Let's cover a couple bases here and try to deliver. So that's where we got kind of those are my three favorite in terms of mushrooms, and put them together and kind of like, wow, you cover a lot of mind, body, and just general wellness with the formula. So that's kind of how that one came to be.
You use mushrooms in a couple other SKUs as well, don't you? I mean, you use them.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could talk about your muscle builder uses Pico 2, which is, quite frankly, I think it might be my favorite ingredient right now, or my favorite like combination from Compound Solutions. I love it. I think the oxygen uptake is great. I mean, it's expensive, sure, but I think more brands are going to it. But people look at that like that's a combination of, I believe, 4 different mushrooms that make that up. So it's sort of like, do you look at sort of the mushroom environment and say, like, these seem pretty cool, there's some studies here that support XYZ, what can we do with it? Or do you have an idea on, like, this is a goal I want a product to do, can I incorporate mushrooms, can I incorporate some of these unique ingredients that others aren't using?
So almost always I start with the goal in mind. Like,
sure.
Genius Joy is just anti-stress, anti-anxiety, and then if mushrooms fit the bill, by all means we work them in, which I feel like they do in a lot of instances. Like consciousness, we use a gram of lion's mane as well, just for the cognitive function. But on this one, it was more like a real introduction to just straight up mushrooms, because like you said, like they hadn't really broken out yet, and we wanted to kind of just get them out there and start that education process.
Man, I'm just like, the amount of work that you must do, because a lot of brands will just phone in. They'll work with a contract manufacturer and they'll say, you know what, I saw this product on a shelf at Vitamin Shop. I want to create something like it, but maybe I'll add in an extra 25 milligrams of this ingredient, maybe remove some of this. Not a lot of innovation. And, you just mentioned Genius Joy, and I just went to this. And, like, you look at these, first off, these brand ingredients, which these are expensive ingredients, again, that when you buy a branded ingredient, you're paying more for it because, A, it's branded, but the studies and the support is behind it. But, some of these that you have in this this product, you don't see anywhere. So how do you discover these? Are you going to like Supply West, Supply East? You go into like these natural organic expos with these ingredients and with your partners and finding them? Or are they coming to you with these things? Because it's remarkable, some of the stuff that you're using.
It's a combination of all of those. Like I live on the internet, like most of this generation, and I try to spend a decent amount of time researching. But I think I go to Supply Side West, I go to Expo West, I'm at all that stuff. So I just generally have my ear to the ground, and it's what I like to do. Like I like that performance enhancement aspect of things. And I like to test on myself. So if I see a new ingredient that, looks exciting, I'll get samples, and I think you do the same, you'll try it for several weeks. And I generally enjoy that.
What was your major in college? Because you talked about going to college, you talked about playing basketball, but you never said what your minor was.
So yeah, I wish going back I had something in chemistry or whatnot, but it's just business management.
Yeah, see, that's for me, that's remarkable, because you don't have, and it's not bad. Like, you don't have a nutrition science or exercise science background or chemical background of any means, but you're fascinated by these things. Did you enjoy science growing up and those type of classes?
No, not particularly, especially younger. I when it got into human biology, that's where I started to get interested, like very interested. But everything outside of that, no, not really. Like, not with general pharmacology or anything like that. I'm fascinated with nutrition though in general. Like I'm a certified nutritionist. I've taken classes on the side. I've read a handful of books. So I love that aspect of things. But yeah.
Yeah, and if you follow, on your Instagram too, you'll talk about nutrition quite a bit, like your personal Instagram, which is good. I follow that. There's just so much to learn, and you've learned so much, and you have so many like, how many SKUs, and by SKUs, how many products does Genius brand have right now under its umbrella, under its brand name? There's like 3 pages on Amazon. Yeah, there's quite a bit, right? Yeah. What's your favorite? Everybody has a favorite. Yeah. No,
I get asked this sometimes, and it's kind of like picking your favorite child. So I don't. There's a handful of them that are up there. I really appreciate what Genius. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on Genius Joy.
Okay.
That's one of our best sellers. And just to see, I think there's a lot of people that struggle with anxiety and depression, and we've got
Especially now.
Yeah, no, for sure. We've gotten a handful of messages where, like, this has made all the difference in the world. I can get out of bed, like some pretty touching stuff. So I'd probably put that one up there. So yeah, if I had to choose one, that'd be it.
What's the big goal in 2019 for the Genius brand for you personally to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just to kind of break into that mainstream, so to speak. Just reach more customers, like get into more just channels. Like I got a specific sheet somewhere where it's like we want 3 national retailers, this or that. But overall, it's just kind of that idea of getting out there and more exposure. So yeah.
How many products can we expect to be released this year under the brand?
I'd say at least 10. Yeah.
Really? You're at 20 right now. You're going to release another 10. You're going to release that's a ton. That's awesome.
We have that at least 10 in the pipeline, and it just depends like a lot of the time on life cycles and like successful launches. But
sure,
we've got like 2 coming out in the next 2 weeks, and then I'd expect 8 before the end of the year.
Can you share the ones that you're releasing in the next 2 weeks? Since
we have our digestion optimizer coming out, so it's a digestive health formula, which I think a lot of people overlook, and actually helps. It's cool. It helps break down fats and proteins better and better utilize those. And then also Keto Genius, which is going to be I'm calling it like ketogenic rocket fuel. So it's a lot of BHBs, but then a handful of nootropics as well. Works really good in kind of a fasted state.
Keto is massive. Obviously, you're getting into the game. It'll be interesting to see it'll be interesting to see like keto 5 years from now and like how it evolves for me.
Well, but this is one big thing for me. I hate how mainstream it is. I'm kind of gonna attack a lot of that. Like people don't understand, like they're marketing them as weight loss supplements and this and that. It's like, so when you take exogenous ketones, it's another energy source for your body.
Right.
So to say that's helping you burn fat, it's actually prolonging when you burn fat because it's another energy source to break down before your body starts using your own fat. So I'm going to attack a lot of that. And I think there's a very specific way to utilize fats and exogenous ketones to kind of hack like peak performance and really be on top of your game.
Sure.
But it's going to be a very unique approach from us where it's not like throwing your ring in the hat. It's kind of like I'm kind of tired of what I'm seeing from the whole keto world and everyone's slapping keto on everything. And it doesn't work like that, and I don't think, 9 out of 10 keto diets that people take up on just from what I see, it's not sustainable and it's not healthy. They're eating just pounds of cheese and so I expect some interesting things from us on the keto front.
I was going to ask you about that because keto, I look at it personally and I have people around me that follow it and they talk about how they had, like you said, cheese and bacon and they had like all this half and half cream sauce on things. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how the fuck is this good for you? Sure, it tastes great. It's got to taste great. It better taste great. But the whole sustainability aspect of it, I just don't get. But to your point, like everybody's keto to me now is becoming sort of like that word organic. Like it's a buzzword now. It's starting to lose a little bit of its luster in terms of what it means. Like I ripped Bang energy drinks for putting keto on a Bang energy drink that they had because it's not like the keto friendly and it's just they're doing it to make sales. So it'll be interesting to see you attack it, come at it because what you're talking about. Your nutrition, your nutrition background. We could do a whole podcast on keto, man. I love that shit. A couple other things I want to ask you before we wrap things up. One is I got to imagine in your supplement cupboard a lot of Genius branded products, but I also got to imagine being a connoisseur of the business and of supplements, you have some other things in there that you test and try out as well. Are there any other brands outside the Genius brand umbrella that you respect, that you use their supplements that you enjoy? For sure.
So there's I'm really good friends with Sean Torbati. He owns HPN, and then he also is the co-owner of Ambrosia with Mark Lobliner and Mike Rashid, and those are 2 other guys I respect quite a bit. Mark especially, like there's stuff from MTS I'll use from time to time. But Sean with HPN especially is one brand where that whole have you followed the whole concept of NAD boosters? Yep. And like he's kind of at the forefront of that and longevity, and I take a handful of their products for sure. So that's probably the next closest brand I'd say I use quite a bit. I like Sean. Is awesome too. Mark yeah, Mark knows his obviously stuff very well.
I think I would if there's a twin of yours in this industry, I think Sean is that. I mean, I think Sean is very intelligent and his products are great. I actually got into it a little bit with Sean from some of his marketing. His PA supplement he put in his marketing, he called it a steroid copycat. And I had a huge issue with that. I'm just like, Sean, this is my personal feelings. Like, Sean, your products are fantastic. You're better than that. You don't need to use that word. There's got to be a different way that you could sell this product. But it has been called a steroid copycat because it does work really well. We just got to think of a different way and not use that word, especially straightforward.
Well, this is the marketing stuff I'm telling you about, right? Like on my end, this is what we're up against. Like I spend quite a bit. I'm going to go see Sean next week actually down there, and he's in the direct response world, and the shit he has to compete with, like just to run a successful business, you really start tiptoeing that line of what's right and what's not, you know, and that's where I have a problem with it. But at the end of the day, if you're providing value and you're explaining to that customer what it, you know, like, okay, you click because that's steroid copycat. Now let me tell you the reasonable expectations here, you know, so I
totally get the marketing aspect. I do. It's just coming from Sean, it surprised me. I didn't expect it from his brand. So, and we've talked about it. I'm sure I'll talk with him more about it in the future. But again, I think he's very much like you, and you guys innovate nicely. Biohacking is a term that's used quite a bit in this space. Obviously, you have plenty of products that are designed for longevity, are designed for like the nootropic experience. Like your thoughts of the term biohacking and sort of this movement within our world today.
So I really believe in the concept of, you know, kind of controlling your outside environment to really alter your inside state, right? Like,
sure.
And a lot of that goes into what you eat. But I don't like the word biohacking because it almost like, I think a lot of people try to perceive it as like, it's easy, you know, like you're kind of hacking, you're finding a cheat code. That shit's hard. Like if you really want to hack peak performance, like it might require, you know, waking up at 5 a.m. and meditating and then stand in front of a red light and, you know, high intensity training to boost BDNF. Like all that shit's it's not easy. So I don't really like the term biohacking. Like I'm still wrestling with that one internally because there's, you know, you follow Bulletproof a little bit. Like that's what they're coining and that's what they're pushing. But I think
they're your neighbor, right? Aren't they right next to you in Seattle?
Yeah, they're close. But that's where I think those guys try to sell an image of it's just eat fats and lose weight, you know, and it's interesting. Like I do think they do a lot of good, but I think that's how issues happen. That's how like this idea of keto crumbles when you get enough people that the shit doesn't work, you know? So I'll elaborate more on that in 2019, but I'm still wrestling with how to handle, you know, biohacking.
It's like these labels have short-term lifespans. Like Atkins was huge. It died. I mean, it's still around. Like the Atkins brand is still in stores. People still think like this low-carb lifestyle is the way to always go. And I have my personal feelings on it. But like I feel like the word keto is might fall at the wayside similar to what Atkins did. At some point, you have these people coming out like discrediting what we believe keto actually is or what we've been led to believe what a keto diet is, to your point of nothing but cheese and fats, that it could lead to some pretty severe health issues. And then all of a sudden this keto phase is gone. And I'm nervous only because there are brands out there who are pushing products on people, putting it keto for that lifestyle. And you're coming at it from an angle saying like, no, that's not what keto is. This is actually what keto is. This is what we're trying to accomplish. So you're actually trying to be ahead of the curve in terms of like what keto actually should be. So I find that super interesting. Dude, I'm stoked for you for this year. This is if 10 products is going to be big. What's like the biggest goal that you have for this brand? Not even this year, but just like in general, like what is the one thing that you want to accomplish for your consumers over time?
Well, I mean, we wanted to spark like real change in the industry, like in general, from everything from questioning, you know, why certain ingredients are in there to I'd really like to see brands just get away from like some of the ridiculous fillers. Like I don't think there's any need for food coloring in products. I don't. You know, if you want to make the argument, sucralose, it probably isn't that bad and then tastes better. Like I get that.
We should do a podcast on sucralose because I don't think we understand the long-term effects of that sweetener, artificial sweetener at this point either. Because I mean, like, I don't know, man.
We don't. There's not that much on it, you know, and our bodies don't fully get rid of it. So that's where I think that's one you really need to put in moderation. But like,
it's in everything too.
It's in everything. So that's why I think. And you're talking like 2 grams sometimes in a pre-workout. And when I look back, so before I kind of switched to all natural and cutting out sucralose and all that, I I mean, I added up, like I'm taking just everything, right? And you start adding up the numbers of how much sucralose you're probably putting in your body. It's absurd. So that's where I think, I want to shed some more light on that. But generally, kind of circling back on your question, we just want to spark some level of widespread change. We want to continue kind of contributing to that education process. And there's a lot of brands doing that. And we're playing our part. And we want to see wide change in the industry.
You and me both, brother. It's what we're trying to do here. So definitely. That's why I appreciate your brand, what you're doing, what you guys are trying to accomplish, and what you have been accomplishing. I'm excited for the direct-to-consumer model. I would much rather, no offense to Amazon, send people to your site, have them purchase directly for you. It'll be exciting to see the partnerships and strategic relationships that you make over this year. I feel like you're a brand that's going to be very selective in terms of who carries your product if you're going to go outside D2C and Amazon. But I think the idea that your product is going to be more readily available for people is just going to help this brand grow and blossom and really help get behind those 10 SKU launches that you want. So, dude, more power to you. And we'll have you on again, too, just because I think that you're, especially maybe mid-year, and see how things are going. Because you're a brand that Shane, who's on this podcast from Stack, just says like it's a brand to watch in 2019, and you're in consideration. You're definitely a brand to watch for us. You'll probably be one of those brands that's in consideration for brand of the year, actually, for quite a few of our sites, just because of what you're doing to invoke change in the industry. And that's something I think that you can walk around with your head held high, you and your team, and be proud for what you're doing, because you're not like money hungry. Yes, you need to make a living. Yes, you need to make sure that the lights turn on and that you have food. But at the end of the day, you really come from a place of sincerity where you want people to be better. From the use of your products.
Absolutely. We want to just help people find their genius, kind of at the end of the day.
I love it. All right, supplementsmarter.com is the website. How do they find you on social media?
The Genius CEO is my tag, so reach out.
That's Instagram. Is that also? Do you have Twitter?
Yep, that's everything. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yep.
And then the Genius brand itself also has an Instagram too, correct?
Yep, at the Genius brand.
Yeah, I figured as much. All right, brother, let's do this again soon. I appreciate you coming on. Best of luck in 2019. I think you're going to absolutely kill it. And for those of you listening, make sure you keep checking out fitnessinformer.com. We are going to keep diving into some of these products and really dissecting them to let you know exactly like what these things are, what's in them, and what they're meant for. And I think you're going to learn a lot from all those things. Robert, dude, appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that was Robert Oliver, CEO of the Genius brand here on the Be Informed Live Fit podcast. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you have some appreciation for this brand that may have been unknown to you before today, but now you know the Genius brand, and you're going to see a lot of that in 2019. You're going to see a lot of FI in 2019. You're going to see a lot of brands come through Fitness Informant platform in 2019 because we are accelerating the engine that is Fitness Informant. I appreciate everybody's support who listens to this podcast, subscribes to this podcast, goes to the website, follows us on social media. Man, we built something special, and we can feel it. It's good. It's good stuff. Make sure if you want to support the brand, again, the links over at fitnessinformer.com actually allow us to get a little bit of residual from that, and then we invest that back into marketing to try to grow this brand, to help improve the lives of others through the education that we're providing. We also have our apparel line over at fitnessinformer.com/store. More things will be added to that, including hoodies, hats probably eventually, maybe this lightweight hoodie. I mean, it looks phenomenal on me. So anyway, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Podcasts, right here on YouTube. Rate, review. That would help us hugely as well. And make sure you're following us on social media. It's we're on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'm gonna get the hell out of here. I'm not sure who's coming up in 2 weeks for us, but I'll find somebody good. It'll be a good guest. We're gonna talk about it. It'll be a month away from the Arnold. So we're amping up, getting ready for that. Until then, hang loose, be informed, live fit. Peace.